Hey everybody, Wild Dog Gamer here, bringing you first episode of Flight Simulator 2020. Today, in the next couple videos, we're going to be going through some of these tutorials here, just because. Now, to be honest, I have played it a little bit just to get my controls right for my joystick and rudder pedals and stuff. I think I've got them pretty decent. I might have to go and adjust them in the middle of the video. If so, I apologize in advance. So, let's get going here. Let's go with basic controls and cameras. So, 8 minutes. So we'll be doing a couple videos at a time. So, I've got a throttle, I've got my joystick, and I've got rudder pedals. It is a beautiful game. Loving it. I am still using OBS right now to record. I do know that some people were experiencing issues, so we'll see what happens during this recording. So here we're going to be in a Cessna 152. My gosh, it takes a long time.
Welcome to flight training. I'm your instructor, Captain Molina, but you can just call me Jess.
Hi, Jess.
This session, we'll get started with some basic controls. Sound good?
Sure.
First things first, let's get familiar with your surroundings. Don't worry, I've got the stick while you get your bearings. Out your side windows, you can see we have great visibility over Sedona today.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there. Beautiful weather. Got to do the buttons here.
This is Red Rock territory. Beautiful, isn't it?
No, I don't want to, but okay. Control
the Sedona Airport. The runway should be a pretty easy landmark to find.
Where is it? Okay. Oh yeah, it's up there on the hill. It's not down in the valley. Yeah, I see it.
There you go. Visual confirmation on the airport. Now that we're oriented, it's your turn. Time to fly this bird.
Okay, gotcha.
The first control on our training list is the yoke. I still remember my first instructor saying the yoke is like a steering wheel. Almost. Sure, you can turn, but you can also pitch. For starters, it controls the ailerons. And the ailerons, they allow the plane to roll and bank into turns.
Okay.
Go ahead and try rolling to the right.
Rolling to the right. What heading?
Go ahead and try rolling to the right. also controls the elevator. And the elevator affects the plane's pitch, right?
You're the
Pull back
boss.
on the stick, the plane starts to climb. Give it a shot. The most valuable things in aviation are speed and altitude. But notice, when you're pitching up, your speed is decreasing.
Oh, but I was still going decent.
You could add more power.
I could add
Or for now, let's just pitch down.
Okay. Back to power then. Ow.
Just like that, your speed's picking up again as the nose pitches down.
Yeah, I'm up to almost...
As you level back out, let's talk about another control, the rudders at your feet. Rudder pedals control the aircraft's side-to-side movement, also known as yaw. On the ground, those pedals are going to steer the plane left or right.
Turn coordinator.
Up here, they properly align us during turns. Try them out and watch the plane's nose skew to either side.
Like that.
Simple enough, right?
Yes.
Before we go on, let's bring the plane back to straight-up flight. Make sure your dashboard is aligned 3 to 4 inches below the horizon for a cruise attitude. Okay, the last thing we're going to cover now is the throttle. If you have the need for speed, then the throttle's for you. Full control over the power output of the engine.
Okay.
Let's see what happens when you cut all the power. Surprise, surprise, our altitude is decreasing.
Yeah, but not by much.
This might be a good time for a piloting PSA. Always keep an eye on your surroundings, because nobody likes a low-flying duck.
Okay.
Alright, let's go ahead and throttle back up.
Maximum, huh? Did that.
There you go. Speed is increasing, and as long as we maintain the same attitude, our altitude will keep climbing too. You're really getting the hang of your controls.
I know I am. Thank you.
Before long, you won't even need a co-pilot.
Okay.
Until then, if you want help with the radio or checklists or simply flying the plane, I'll be here.
Okay.
You can pass me the controls when you're ready to finish your session, or keep flying. It is a great day after all.
It said it would talk about flaps in this video, but it didn't. You lied to me. Control Alt X. Beautiful area. Man. Look at that. Wow. Okay, Control Alt X.
Alright, I have control.
Yeah.
Good job.
Next, in training flight. Okay. Continue? Yes. Learn about airspeed indicator here. Attitude. Altimeter. Turn and slip. That's that one we zoomed in on earlier. The heading. The variometer. And the tachometer, which is up all the way up over there. So she's going to tell us. But this is what I was trying to keep my eye on earlier during those turns. But I think some of the way she actually had control of the rudders because it was perfect. It maintained a perfect roll. Okay, also over Sedona.
Today we're talking about attitudes of flight, how your plane is oriented relative to the horizon. If you look outside, you can see the cockpit is just about 4 inches below the horizon line.
I do see that.
We're flying straight with a decent rate of speed. This is the cruise attitude. Let's see how it reads on your instruments.
I guess I was supposed to use that. Okay, fine. Control 1.
Take a look at the attitude indicator.
Yeah.
As the name implies, it shows your current attitude. The white line is the horizon,
It's positive,
with the sky
right?
above and the ground below.
I'm happy.
That orange element in the middle, aligned with the horizon, that's your plane.
That's me.
Just like we saw outside, our current attitude reads pretty much straight and level. Okay, now let's see how much power the engine's generating. Check your tachometer.
Tachometer.
Looks like we're pushing around 2,300 revolutions per minute. Combined, attitude and engine RPMs translate to aircraft performance. Which leads us to your airspeed indicator. Now, last but not least, check your altimeter.
Altimeter.
To figure out your altitude, you always want to read the small needle first. That's how many thousands of feet up you are. Then on to the big needle for the hundreds. With our current attitude and power output, we're holding a speed of 90 knots and a stable altitude of 6,000 feet.
Okay. That's good information.
But that's about to change. Take the stick when you're ready.
Oh, it's going to change just because I'm taking it?
Pull back slightly on the yoke to raise the nose just above the horizon line.
Gotcha.
About 2 inches. Make sure you don't pitch up too much, or the angle will be too steep to create lift. And without enough lift, we'll stall. Alright, go full throttle and start climbing. Welcome to the climb attitude. See how it shows up on your attitude indicator and tachometer? According to your altimeter, we're gaining altitude.
Not by very much.
But we're losing airspeed even at full throttle, proving you can't avoid basic physics while making a climb.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go on, let's get back to a cruise attitude. Ease up on the yoke and aim your nose just below the horizon. Then throttle back down to 2,300 RPMs.
Gotcha. Hey, hello? Why I can't throttle up all the way to...
Ease up on the yoke and aim your nose just below the horizon. Then throttle back down to 2,300 RPMs.
You see my RPMs up there? By just turning my throttle just a little bit, it came all the way down. Why isn't that working like it should?
Ease up on the yoke and aim your nose just below the horizon. Then throttle back down to 2,300 RPMs.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I failed the mission. How do you fail a tutorial mission?
Ease up on the yoke and aim your nose just below the horizon. Then throttle back down to 2,300 RPMs.
Oh, there's a mountain in front of me.
Nice We're now set up with the same attitude and power we had at the top of our lesson. Next up is the descent attitude. Start by reducing your RPMs to 1800. Then drop the plane's nose a bit further below the horizon. As expected, with a nose-down attitude, our altitude is decreasing, while our speed is picking up.
Okay.
Why don't you get us back to a cruise attitude, and we'll hit the last part of our lesson.
No. How do I get back inside? Okay. Increase it back up.
There we go. Now that we know how to cruise, climb, and descend, let's talk about the turn attitude. Gently pull the yoke left or right to start rolling the plane. If you take a look outside, you can see how our attitude's changed, but you can also check your instruments for the details.
Yep, I see that, thank you.
As a general rule, you always want to keep your turns under 30 degrees.
Under 30 degrees.
At the top of your attitude indicator, there's a series of notches representing 10 degrees each. Use them to control your roll.
Okay.
Notice the more you turn, the more you need to pull back on the yoke to maintain altitude. When you're rolling out, you'll need to do the opposite. Roll and push at the same time. The more you know about the main attitudes of flight, the closer you get to that pilot state of mind. So keep practicing, and whenever you're done, pass me the controls.
Oh, okay. Well, I do want to go in between these two over here really quick before I hand it back over to you, because that is already over here. Oh my gosh. What'd you say your name was, instructor? Okay. But you've got control?
Thanks, I've got control now. Well done.
That's kind of a horrible example of how that actually works, though. Okay, so we're going to do one more. And then we will go ahead and end this video. Takeoff and level flight. Okay. You're not going to tell me what we're going to go over today? Oh, look how horrible that taxiway is. I wonder if that's how it is in real life. It just goes doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah. I mean, it's not out of the question that an American airport would look like that, but yeah. Okay.
There's an old saying I like. A mile of road will take you a mile. A mile of runway will take you anywhere.
Oh, you did that so sweet. Oh, it's under my control.
Taking off isn't hard, but there are a few key points to remember. First, we always take off into the wind, which won't be an issue on a calm day like today. Second, before we enter a runway, we always make sure it's clear.
Oh, press S.
Everything looks good, no cross traffic. Go ahead and taxi into position. The rudder pedals should make steering the plane pretty easy.
center of the runway. That really got away from me. Hello?
Alright, let's do this. Apply full power
we're
and I'll
in
walk you
center.
through the takeoff as we go.
Oh, and let go of brakes. Okay, fine.
Use your rudders to stay on the center line and keep pushing power until you reach 55 knots.
Got it. Yeah, I've got to adjust these rudder pedals.
Good. Now gently pull back on the yoke. Line up the top of your instrument panel so it's a couple inches above the horizon. That'll pitch us up and set a good climb attitude.
Okay, well, I lost runway heading. Thank you. Let's get back on runway heading. And I am up.
And we're airborne.
Yes, we are.
Focus on flying straight. Use your rudders to keep the runway heading of 210 degrees. Maintain 75 knots, and we'll reach our target altitude of 5,500 feet in no time.
Okay, can I use trim? Will you let me use trim? It doesn't look like you will let me use trim. You barely got me climbing. In fact, I'm not climbing at all. So trim makes it where you don't have to keep pulling back on the stick. You can set your climb altitude. Climb attitude, as she says.
5,500 feet. A nice, safe altitude for part 2 of our lesson.
Okay. Go back with throttle.
Straight and level flight. First step here is adjusting our attitude. We're in a cruise attitude, pushing max power. To stay level at our target altitude, let's start by easing the throttle back to 1,800 RPMs.
I did that, thank you.
You probably noticed, to maintain altitude, you need to pitch the nose up.
I did.
You could just keep pulling on the yoke to hold steady, but that's not really a precise means of control. Probably better to adjust your trim wheel until you don't need to push or pull on the yoke. Drag the trim down when you need to set the nose up. Drag it up to set the nose down. Try adding trim to keep us at 5,500 feet without increasing throttle. If you feel our pitch slipping and need to get back to the proper attitude, don't worry. Just pull on the yoke, then dial in the right trim. The way I was taught, when you adjust the trim, you make rough changes at first to remove pressure on the yoke. Then small adjustments to find the perfect setting to keep your desired attitude.
Okay.
That's the key to straight and level flight. It saves you from constantly pushing or pulling on the yoke. and that gives you more time to enjoy the ride.
Oh, yeah.
If you want more practice using the trim, go for it. Whenever you're ready to pass the controls, I'll be here.
I was trying to trim that whole time, but you wouldn't let me. Alright, so I guess, you guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a fantastic night.
Okay,